Greetings, gamers! Welcome to part number 10 of my playthrough Pokemon Colosseum, all Shadow Pokemon Run. And in today's episode, I have to leave Agate Village, and I actually think the Cologne Case lady is not accessible at this current time. I think she joins you after, or she joins the village after you deal with Mount Battle. And that's exactly what I'm going to go do right now. Mount Battle, a place of challenging trainers, or challenging training for all trainers. It's interestingly worded here. It is currently held by a sinister gang. Love my motorbike. Though I don't like grinding, absolutely not, I do think that Mount Battle is probably the best place that we've ever been given to grind in a Pokemon game. It's terrible. I'll tell you, it's terrible. Mount Battle is under attack by a group of shady people. I'm so out of breath. Thinking about taking the Mount Battle challenge, forget about it. I'd keep clear of that place for now. I hear Mount Battle's been taken over by a bunch of trainers that use weird Pokemon. It looks like they're after Vander, who's an area leader. But why would anyone want to do that? I'd go help, but the best I'd ever manage is 8 consecutive wins. I wouldn't get very far. A bunch of creepy-looking trainers came and started attacking other trainers without any warning. Those trainers, the Pokemon they had, weren't normal. Anyway, you look at them. This is a distinguished place of training for honorable trainers. What is the meaning of this outrage? Those attackers, how dare they attack others without any regard for the rules? They're failures as trainers. But anyway. Oh yes, I'm the move deleter. Don't be shocked, but I can make Pokemon forget their moves. Would you like me to do that? No, I would not. But he is here in case you do have Pokemon that have HMs. HMs are actually a pretty big thing in this game, especially Surf. Now, I wouldn't ever get rid of Surf on a Pokemon, especially a water Pokemon in this game, because Surf hits both opposing Pokemon in a double battle. And you can always have a single target option alongside that if you want, because most water Pokemon don't get anything more than water, ice, and normal moves anyway. So, realistically speaking, I think Surf is probably the best of this type, but it is understandable if you would want to delete a move just in case you want to get rid of an HM for something else, because this is the only way to get rid of HMs in Pokemon Colosseum. This is the coupon exchange, but right now everything is suspended because of those horrible people. This is where you exchange your coupons. This is something that comes into effect after you beat this little area in the boss fight that's coming up, and then you start taking on the real Mount Battle challenge. You can come here and give her your Poke coupons in exchange for like TMs and special berries and stuff like that. In fact, it's one of the only places, I think it is the only place in Gen 3 where you can get certain items from. I would not say this is great though, being honest, because you get so few coupons in the grand scheme of things that even if you beat all of Mount Battle, which is 100 battles, it's monotonous and tedious to say the absolute least. You are still not going to have enough to get the things you want. And it's kind of crazy. No, I'm sorry, but I can't let you in. It's full of thugs. It's dangerous. Oh? You heard about us from Duking? You must be here to save us. You see, it was me who contacted Duking for help. I didn't think you would get here so quickly. But please be careful. The power of their Pokemon isn't normal. I will absolutely be careful. This is the only quote-unquote Colosseum challenge that Rui joins you for the entire way. Whoops, hold on. Aren't you mistaking something? All training has been put on hold. But if you really must, sure, I'll battle you. Ryder Turo would like to battle. Sent out Trapinch and Nummel. Level 34 and 35. I think I'm still going to be able to readily beat you pretty darn quick. Not necessarily with Quilava, though. Quilava, well, I could use Dig. I think I could just use Dig against Numel. So that's what I'll do. Psybeam against Trapinch. Getting Trapinch off the field is kind of tantamount to the most priority here. He has literally final evolved form Pokemon stats concerning his attack. And usually pretty decent moves, too. Sandshrew coming out on the field. So you're going to notice a theme by these Mount Battle trainers. They are all in an area. This is true of Mount Battle even after this attack of Cypher. But Mount Battle, each area is more or less focused on a specific type or strategy. And for this part, it is more or less that you are fighting nothing but ground-type Pokemon. And when you see the boss of Cypher, the Cypher admin that I'm going to be fighting at the end of this, you're going to understand why. Unfortunately, he's typically considered one of the hardest fights in this game, at least the early game. Definitely the early game. I wouldn't say the whole game. In fact, I think the jump between him and the next Cypher admin is insane. Like, actually insane. If you don't have a well-grinded team or a well-leveled team, you're just in for a very rude awakening. She basically sends you back with your tail in between your legs saying, oh, I guess I do have to grind. It's what happened to me when I played my first playthrough on the game after maybe like a 5-10 year hiatus from Pokemon Colosseum. You don't need any training. No, I don't. At least not yet. Master Dekim will reprimand me. Let's go ahead and switch out Quilava for Umbreon. I think that'll be very useful here. So another thing too is that you don't heal up in between these fights. You do in the regular Mount Battle though. Huh? Turo took a fall, did he? I could never count on that guy. Well, I'll just think of it as there being more fun for me to enjoy. Come on. Hunter Drovik would like to battle. Swinub and Baltoy. More ground types. Baltoy is not really that big of a threat, so I think I'm going to focus on Swinub. Double him down. It might be that a Psybeam just insta-wipes him anyway, so there is that. But yeah, like I was saying about this boss, he's going to be kind of trivialized. And the reason why is because 2 of my mainstays for my entire team are going to be coming from him. It's unfortunate. I apologize. The fight's going to look pretty much like a cakewalk because of it. But it has to happen because he does not have those Pokemon in later fights. So I can't wait for them. And besides, they might not have the moves I would want anyway if I were to wait. Very nice. Larvitar is down. But it's absolutely necessary because I'm kind of going to be taking a bent towards this area's current strategy, which is ground types. I love ground types. I don't think they're my favorite of any type or whatever. I think that more or less goes to bug types, but I have some concepts for bug type teams and bug type runs for other games. I'm not going to be doing that here. There's just a couple of Pokemon that I would love to pick for my team as a bug type team that I'm not capable of picking here. And the reason why is just because of the fact that they're too high level. Like, I would love to have a Nincada with a Shedinja and a Ninjask eventually, but they have to be under level 20 before they evolve at level 20 in order for you to make good use of that with moves and stuff. So there's that. I'm going to get reprimanded too. What's going on? Both Turo and Drovik went down? That's weak. I'm not going down easily. Ryder Kimmett would like to battle. Sandshrew and Geodude, I have to do my absolute best to make sure that I don't take too much damage, or if I do, I use things like my potions in between these fights, and then I'll probably heal up before the final fight in this area. But the reason why this is just because I have to be kind of very, very careful concerning I have to be very careful concerning the battles here, because they can go pretty south pretty quick. And it's because they all have ground types, they have good moves or decent moves, and you could be sidewinded if you're not paying attention. All right, Numble she sends out, and they're all reasonably high level too, which is another thing. My Pokemon are too, but like I said, it's because I'm doing a strategy with them that most people kind of ignore, which is the idea of doubling down on using nothing but Umbreon and Espeon until you can start purifying your Pokemon. Because, like I said before, you kind of just... You don't really want to try to level up your Shadow Pokemon before you can purify them, because any level that they get that has a move you wanted that they skip that move too. And that's terribly detrimental, especially if you saved and can't go back on it. You could miss important moves like Earthquake on certain Pokemon, or so on and so forth, or like Stun Spore, or this, that, or the other, or Surf, or whatever, what have you. Like, there's tons of moves that you would really want that you would just miss out on potentially. I went down easily. Yes, you did. Defeated as you should be. Just today, I'll back off easily. All of these characters here are from Cypher. They don't look it, but they definitely are. Phew, that trio you've already defeated, if I likened them to food, they would only be hors d'oeuvres. The real battling begins now. Ryder Raiden would like to battle. Pineco and Baltoy. Pineco is the bigger threat here, so I'm going to be focusing him. Alright, okay. And once I do have a full party of 6 Pokemon, I will be fighting Justy from the pre-gym. Oh, what am I doing? Bite, Psychic, or Psybeam. Because Justy happens to have a Pokemon that I'm going to be having on my team as well. You do want to be careful about that. Most of his Pokemon, I believe, are level 40. So you don't want to get into that fight too early. Especially because his gimmick is basically to stall you and avoid your attacks. Not very effective. It's crazy because Houndour and Houndoom have such low defenses that I'm going to smack him with Secret Power and Return, and he's probably going down to that. Maybe even just the Return. Yeah. Such a poor physical defense Mon. So even though, you know, he's not weak to Psychic, in fact, he's immune to Psychic, and my team doesn't seem like it would have good synergy against him, I kind of do. And then Graveler, this monstrous Pokemon. Yeah, not very effective. But he's paralyzed, wow. And Baltoy dug a hole. So... That's unfortunate. I do have to KO this, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to hit Baltoy this turn. Both my Pokemon will absolutely outspeed a Baltoy. Level up to 39. And Baltoy used Dig. Not much damage, and you're attacking the wrong Pokemon because Espeon has far and away much less defenses than Umbreon does. Because Espeon is a special attacking psychic type, whereas Umbreon is, well, in this generation, a special attacking physical wall dark type. Goodbye, Baltoy. Goodbye, Rider Raiden. Player defeated, Rider Raiden. Please, no! The real battles begin after me. Ah, that's what they all say. Super Potion. Okay, time to move on. There are quite a few more battles left to go before I even reach the boss.
Wow, you've come a long, long way from home. You should be proud of yourselves, but prepare for a thrashing. I never miss targets once I get my sights. Get them in my sights.
Hunter Telia would like to battle. Trapinch and Barboach. Yep, and you're going to be facing my overpowered team of Umbreon and Espeon. Umbreon is a pretty good example of why a defensive wall on your side, when you do have a double battle scenario and two Pokemon, is not necessarily a bad thing at all. He just has to have the correct and I would say good moves and like moveset and things that he can do to add to the team. If I was going to permanently use him, I would absolutely throw Toxic on him because Toxic is just such an intelligent move on a Pokemon like Umbreon. Hunter Telia sent out Trapinch. Oh, a Shadow Pokemon! Yes, you've seen a Shadow Trapinch a billion times. And Barboach used Sandstorm. That's not really all that useful, but you know, the chip damage can help, especially because I don't have sand immune Pokemon. Psybeam. Unfortunately, Trapinch, because of your damage you've already taken, you're not possibly surviving a Psybeam. And Lily. Lileep is actually pretty bulky, so it's potential. There's potential here for Lileep to survive both attacks, but I am going to attack with both my Pokemon against him. Magnitude 7. That little tiny bit of damage is a little bit helpful. Man, I'll tell you what. I know that a lot of people say that Pokemon's power creep is really bad now, and I believe that, but I think a lot of it's just poorly balancing of the games anymore. So, back in the day, Pokemon used to add moves because they were fun concepts. Not just because they were overpowered or new ways to quote-unquote power creep and this, that, and the other. Magnitude is one of these examples. It's a very cool concept in theory, but it is executed so abysmal that you would have to actually be stupid to be using a Magnitude over something like Earthquake. Now, if that's all you have is Magnitude and you don't have Earthquake or another better ground-type move, then fine, you know, use it. There's still a decent chance you're going to do decent damage with it, especially if it's coming off of same type attack bonus. But reality is, it's just not that good because over half of its of the magnitudes that you can receive are way less than Earthquake's power, and I think only 1 or 2 of them have the power or better it. And of course, there's the possibility of getting a magnitude 10, which is, I believe, 150 base power. That's insane, like literally insane. Even if you don't have same type attack bonus, that is basically as if you do from Earthquake.
My target got away. The next time we meet, I really won't let you escape. Hello, hello, hello. If you want to get by me, and you have to watch my performance. Okay, let the show begin.
Street performer Nortz would like to battle. I wish these characters had more masculine and feminine names, and in her case, obviously a feminine name, Nortz. There's I don't know what that is. Like, what is that? That can't be a name. Did somebody in the Ore region just decide, like, hey, I'm gonna name my daughter Nortz? Is this normal here? Like, what? And Wes and Rui kind of have some of the only reasonably believable names in this game. And it's actually because Rui is very Japanese sounding, and Wes sounds almost, I don't know how to put it. It sounds very much like it could be a regular name. And I guess that's just like Resident Evil coming off of me with like Wesker, and then other people who have names that are similar to Wes. But I actually don't mind the protagonist and the partner's name in this game. I think they're both very good. The base names. But I like changing them because, you know, I'm using the protagonist, I'm playing the game. I might as well have my own insertion. Because Pokemon was built on that. That's something crazy that a lot of people don't understand. I've seen and heard people argue left and right, front and center. Gamerman, you're kind of a bit of a hypocrite liking Pokemon for the avatar and character inserts, but not Fire Emblem for doing the same. And I always pinpoint that Pokemon from the very beginning was a game that had character inserts, self-inserts, from the very beginning. Fire Emblem didn't have it until the 12th entry. There are some instances before then, like for instance Fire Emblem 7. Technically Fire Emblem 6, because Rory is supposed to be kind of like a self-insert, and then like Ike is kind of like a self-insert also, but they're not really, because you don't get to decide those characters' names or stories or dialogue. And that's something that makes a self-insert like actually a self-insert, is you decide that stuff. You don't get to decide that with any of them. Now in Fire Emblem 7, sure, you can make Mark, but he's not any kind of relevant to the story. And not only is he not really relevant to the story, he's not a game playable character. That's how self-insert should be taken in Fire Emblem. Not relevant to the story, not a game playable character. Just a very, very small, very tiny niche side character. Only time in the franchise that was ever done well, and it should have been the death of it at that point.
My performance is ruined. Nobody would pay to see my show.
No, I certainly wouldn't either. Always using the weaker potions and stuff first. All 6 were defeated? Sheesh. What were those incompetents doing? This is where the buck stops. Hunter Waig would like to battle. Vibrava and Graveler. Oh, I know which one of you I'm attacking. Graveler, looks like you're going to be double down. Yeah, I know there's probably people out there who get tired of me talking about the comparisons of like Fire Emblem with other games, or especially Thracia, one of my favorite games of all time, and I literally cannot stress that statement. Literally, top 5, definitely in the top 5 best and favorite games of mine of all time. I make that comparison because both of these games were built by developers under Nintendo, with, you know, Nintendo's licensing and so on and so forth. Even if they were made separately, Nintendo doesn't really have a hand in the development, creation, or whatever of Pokemon or Fire Emblem. Both of those are handled by the Pokemon Company, Game Freak, so on and so forth, and then like Intelligent Systems and their own side studio. So it's not really a Nintendo thing to get involved in that necessarily. But I will still say that I bring it up because these are both RPGs, turn-based RPGs. They're not really the same, even kind of like in a remote sense, but the fact still remains, and it's very important to note that a lot of people make comparisons between the two, and it has to do with just the fact that like a lot of people in the modern age of Fire Emblem justify some of the very poor and disgusting decisions for that game franchise based on, well, Pokemon did it, why can't Fire Emblem too? And it's like, that's just such a poor argument. It's honestly such a poor argument. I just don't understand why anybody even thinks in that kind of realm. I just couldn't be bothered to understand it. Psybeam, level 40 Espeon, and Umbreon's about to join at level 40. And then at 42 is when both of these Pokemon get their next move. I don't know if we'll see Umbreon's next move. Maybe. You put an end to me. Might see Espeon's, would be cool. You made me lose. They're not going to hire me again after this. Alright, time to go heal up. And onward to number 8, and it happens to be the site of a Cypher Peon, finally.
I guess we're all a little guilty of underestimating you. You've earned some respect, but I'll make you regret ever having come here.
Cypher Peon, Kaisan would like to battle. Houndour and Coughing. Very interesting combination of Pokemon here. Very interesting indeed. Alright, and here is the very next obtainable Pokemon for my party. Can you guess who it is? Is it Houndour or Coughing? It is definitely Coughing. So I absolutely want a Weezing on my team. For multiple reasons, because if I'm doing some Earthquake shenanigans, a Pokemon with Levitate that doesn't really have very many weaknesses is a very good choice for that. Especially because Weezing learns some very interesting, powerful moves, coverage moves particularly, that make him an outstanding member of the team. Return. Almost KO'd Houndour. Okay, so he used Torment. I was going to say, if he used like a really bad Dark-type move, it could be a serious issue right there. I can't use the same move the next turn. I would like to check this. See, this Coughing is a male. I don't like that. I know this is going to sound kind of funny, but I actually would like for half my team to be female and half my team to be male. So with this being the case, the other 3 of my Pokemon have to be female, and I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. At least I'm not entirely sure. I'll see. If I could have at least 2 female Pokemon, it would be nice, because it would help with like the whole attract shenanigans. When it comes to summary, I'm not going to be able to check any of his moves right now, unfortunately. Hopefully he has the moves that I'm thinking he would by this point. I did look it up, but I'm not entirely sure. Either way, it is time for me to double down and start destroying these Pokemon. Bite. Actually, I'm going to have to Secret Power you and Psybeam Duskull, because I can't use the same move in a row because of Torment. I wasn't expecting that Psybeam to KO Duskull at all. Like, at all. Level 40 Umbreon. Very nice. Curlia. Yeah, I had considered getting a Ralts at some point. Or a Curlia and then getting a Gardevoir, because Trace is pretty good and that could help me do some funny, cheesy things, but it's not really on my to-do list for strategies. So I just decided I'm going to do something else. Bite and return. And Curlia is fainted. A bit of experience points for me.
It isn't right. I shouldn't lose.
But you did lose, though.
I shouldn't have battled you in the first place.
No, you shouldn't have. But unfortunately, Cypher Peon, I am the victor. And I also have to end off this episode. I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. And while you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.